Hello, everyone. Today, we will explore a dramatic, emotional, and inspiring story about doubt, secret actions, and regret within a family. Does James's father begin to suspect that Jack might not be his biological son when he notices differences between the boy and James as a child? These worries gradually turn into an obsession, leaving him unable to stop wondering, is Jack really James's biological son, or is he actually the child of Diep and her ex-husband Pau? And will these doubts lead him to secretly carry out a DNA test without telling anyone in the family, sparking a crisis within his own home? When the test results arrive, will all the doubts be resolved, and will he be able to forgive himself for causing harm to the family through his secret actions? Can regret and small actions help him mend his relationship with James and Diep? To find out the answers, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and follow along with more emotional, surprising, and meaningful stories like this one. Now, let's begin the story. James' father, an elderly man who had always lived a peaceful and simple life with his family, loved his grandson Jack dearly. However, in his heart, an inexplicable doubt began to grow. Every time he looked at Jack, he felt something strange, a sense of unease he couldn't explain. Jack, though a lovely and friendly child, didn't resemble his son James when he was a baby. He recalled the early days when James was born, when he held his little son in his arms, proudly gazing at his face that looked just like his own. James' eyes, James' skin, even that smile, everything mirrored him. But with Jack, it didn't seem the same. The boy's eyes were much lighter, and his skin appeared lighter than James when he was young. These differences couldn't be ignored. How could a child, though well-loved and cared for, look so different? Although he knew that everyone in the family believed Jack was James' son, his doubt couldn't be dismissed. This thought haunted him, especially when he remembered one particular detail that he couldn't ignore. Diep, Jack's mother, had been married before to Pau, a man with whom James had never gotten along well. Despite the passage of time, and Diep's happy life with James, the memory of Pau still lingered in his mind. This truth made it impossible for him not to have these negative thoughts. The more he thought, the more uneasy he felt. Was Jack really James' son, or was he just a child from Diep and Pau's past? How could he be sure when everything seemed to point to nothing more than a feeling? That was a question that couldn't easily be answered, but he couldn't continue living in doubt. Unable to live with this worry any longer, he decided to take action. But rather than confronting James and Diep directly, he chose a different, safer, and more discreet path: DNA testing. With determination, he silently began to plan this action without telling anyone. He didn't want to hurt the family, didn't want to break the trust among them. One evening, when everyone was fast asleep, he quietly entered Jack and James' room, carefully approaching their beds. His hands shook as he took strands of hair from both of them. He placed the hair into a small bag, feeling as though he was committing a wrongdoing. But deep down, all he wanted was to uncover the truth. Once everything was done, he quickly sent the hair samples to the laboratory. Anxiety enveloped him like a heavy wave. Each day that passed, he couldn't take his eyes off his phone, eagerly awaiting a call from the lab. What would the results be? Would his suspicions prove to be true? Or was he unknowingly hurting the family he loved? He couldn't stop thinking about it. And so, he waited in silence, his anxiety growing with each passing day. The tension grew whenever he looked at Jack, whenever he saw the boy's innocent eyes, and he felt even heavier with guilt. Was he wrong to doubt his own family? But the truth, no matter how hard it was, needed to be revealed. It had to be clarified. After secretly taking hair samples from Jack and James, James' father felt a heavy sense of anxiety weigh down on his heart. In the days that followed, he couldn't shake off a feeling of unease that seemed to grow stronger by the hour. Every time he looked at Jack, he couldn't help but feel anxious, and the questions about the truth kept nagging at him. Would the test results confirm his suspicions? The more he thought about it, the more his fear intensified. When he sent the samples for testing, he tried to remain calm and optimistic, but in reality, it was far from the truth. Each passing day only deepened his worries. Every moment spent alone in his room was filled with thoughts of what could happen. Could Jack really be James' son, just as everyone believed, or would his suspicions turn out to be true? He feared that if the test results weren't what he hoped for, everything would change. All the relationships within the family could be at risk, and he couldn't bear that possibility. Every time his phone rang, his heart would race, as though he was about to receive some incredibly important news. Sometimes, he couldn't bring himself to answer right away, fearing that when he heard the results, a storm would break out, disrupting everything in the family. The days dragged on endlessly, and each time he saw James or Jack, he felt a strange sensation, love mixed with fear. He kept asking himself whether he was being too suspicious, or whether his doubts were justified in something he truly needed to face. At times, he blamed himself for letting these doubts take over his heart. He remembered when he first met Diep and James, how he had trusted their love, confident that James' family would be perfectly happy. But now, this constant suspicion had become a shadow that he couldn't escape. The feeling of uncertainty was unbearable, gnawing at him, making it impossible to remain calm. He couldn't do anything but wait day after day. Every moment felt like an eternity, and every time he saw James or Jack, he couldn't help but feel a deep sense of unease. The conversations with James or Diep felt different, strained. He could no longer feel the same comfort and ease as before. That strange tension made him feel more heartbroken because he knew that no matter what the test results revealed, something would change in the way his family saw him. Eventually, the waiting seemed endless. Each day felt like an entire year. Would the test results alter his family's life forever? And would he have the courage to face whatever was to come? These questions lingered in his mind, leaving him in a state of uncertainty and dread. When the test results arrived, James' father's hands trembled as he received the envelope. Although he had mentally prepared for the outcome, his heart raced as if everything in his life depended on what would appear in the paper. He stared at the envelope, feeling conflicted, and an overwhelming sense of worry flooded his chest like waves crashing. This time, he didn't rush to open it, as though wanting to prolong the moment and avoid the truth. Slowly, he took the paper in his hands, his eyes lingering on each line. After some technical explanations about the testing process, the final result was clear: Jack is indeed James' son. A wave of relief swept over him, but it was short-lived. That feeling quickly faded, replaced by an intense wave of regret that consumed him. James' father felt as if he were suffocating from the guilt he had created. A part of him felt relieved that his suspicions had not been proven true, but another part was filled with remorse. He had done something wrong, something he couldn't forgive himself for. Looking at the result, he was reminded of all the times he had looked at Jack with suspicion, all the times he had secretly acted without sharing his doubts with anyone in the family. He wondered if his actions had hurt James in deep, even though that was never his intention. The doubts had taken over his mind and led to the decision to act in secret. He hadn't trusted his own family. He hadn't trusted the love that had always been present between them. He stared at the family photo on the table, where James, Diep, and little Jack smiled together, and a deep sense of sadness washed over him. Just because of a momentary doubt, he had created an invisible distance between himself and those he loved the most. He blamed himself for not having faith in them, for not letting love and familial bonds override those suspicions. James' father couldn't bring himself to apologize directly. He felt too ashamed and wasn't brave enough to face what he had done. However, he decided to show his love and care through actions rather than words, hoping to make amends with small gestures. Every time he saw James or Diep, he tried to express concern and care, even though he didn't say it aloud. One evening, when the family gathered around the dinner table, he quietly helped Diep prepare the meal. Little gestures like this made him feel as though he was making up for his mistake. When James wasn't looking, he gently patted his son's shoulder and shared a warm glance with him, trying to convey that he still loved and cherished him, even though he had never expressed it openly before. Though those actions could never change the past, he hoped they would help ease the invisible wounds he had created. James' father realized that sometimes, a little genuine affection and attention are enough to heal the pain that suspicion can cause. Although he couldn't directly apologize, he did everything he could to mend his relationship with the family and show them that his love for them had never changed.
Xin chào các khán giả. Hôm nay chúng ta sẽ cùng đi khám phá một câu chuyện đầy kịch tính, cảm động và đầy cảm hứng, và sự nghi ngờ hành động lén lút hối hận trong gia đình. Liệu bố của James nó bắt đầu nghi ngờ rằng Jack không phải là con trai của James khi nhìn thấy sự khác biệt giữa cậu bé và James lúc nhỏ. Những lo lắng ấy dần trở thành một nỗi ám ảnh khiến ông không thể ngừng suy nghĩ liệu Jack có phải là con ruột của James hay thực chất là con của Diệp và người chồng cũ Paul. Và liệu nghi ngờ ấy có thể khiến ông quyết định thực hiện một xét nghiệm ADN và không nói cho một ai trong gia đình, làm dấy lên một cuộc khủng hoảng trong chính ngôi nhà của mình. Khi biết kết quả xét nghiệm, liệu mọi nghi ngờ của ông có được giải đáp? Để tìm câu trả lời, chúng ta cùng bắt đầu câu chuyện.